Hello! In the last video, we talked to an expert who shared information with us about climate change in Africa. In this video, we're going to change focus on how climate change impacts plants and animals. For animals, these impacts can include changes to habitats and migration patterns. While for plants, the impacts can be the loss of insulation from cold weather and an increase in wildfires. First, let's look at how climate change impacts animals' habitats and migration patterns. A habitat is the place where a plant or animal lives or grows. The four main elements of an animal's habitat are the right temperatures, fresh water, food sources, and place to raise their young. Animals depend on these elements to survive. If any of these elements change, it can cause problems for the animals. They either have to find a way to adapt, which is to change, so that it's easier to live in a particular place or situation. Or if they cannot adapt, they have to find a new place to live. One example of climate change impacting the habitat of animals would be the struggles polar bears now face because of Arctic sea ice melting. Polar bears depend on the ice for hunting. Because they are not as good at swimming as many of the animals they hunt, especially the main source of food, seals. So with the ice melting, they have much shorter hunting seasons and are unable to catch as much food as they need. In the long run, this has had an impact on the polar bear's ability to raise their young. Without enough food, polar bear reproduction, which means having babies, is down 20%. Ducks and geese are also impacted by climate change. You see, ducks and geese have migration patterns. A migration pattern is when animals move together from one place to another because of the seasons. For example, in winter, they move to places they know that will have warmer temperatures and hopefully better food supplies. Because global warming is changing the areas that they live, they are being forced to change their migration patterns. This not only causes problems for the ducks and geese, but also for others as well. For them, if they change their migration pattern, they may find that the plants that were in bloom when they used to go there before are not growing at this time. They may also find that there are different animals around at this new time than before. Some of those animals may compete with them for the same food, or maybe eat them. And for others, animals or people that were used to their old migration patterns, they might be disappointed to see that they are no longer there, especially if they used to hunt them for food. Climate change also impacts trees and plants. For example, climate change is reducing the amount of snow in large parts of the world. The snow is important for the plants and trees because it insulates the soil below it. Insulate means to add a material to something to stop heat, electricity, or sound from going in or out. So in other words, the thick layer of snow keeps the freezing air out from the warm soil underground. If there is not enough snow to cover the ground well, the soil below the trees and plants freezes more. This damages the roots and makes the soil lose some of its nutrients that plants need to live. Climate change has also created extremely dangerous conditions for an increase in wildfires. A wildfire is a large destructive fire that spreads quickly in the wilderness. In areas where the temperature is rising and there is a drought, the trees and plants dry out due to the lack of water. Wildfires can make an area unlivable because they destroy all the plants and all the homes of the animals and humans who live in and around them. In this video, we have discussed some of the ways climate change is a threat to plants and animals. Climate change has forced changes to animals' habitats and migration patterns. It has also impacted plants by decreasing insulation from the cold, while increasing the risk of wildfires. As the rising temperatures limit the amount of fresh water and food sources and places to raise their young, all living things must find ways to adapt or move to new, healthier places in order to live. Now let's look at a reading that discusses how climate change threatens global marine food chains.